me if you heard this one before. Modern Pokemon. Something stinks! Say what you want about the Pokemon franchise, but you can't deny that they're actually doing some good with the DLC. And while I would prefer the DLC was the post-game instead, what we got in the base post-game is way better than what we got in Sword and Shield. Trust me, after Sword and Shield, I'll take anything at this point. So when Scarlet and Violet came out to mixed reviews, I threw my hat in the ring and gave it a B rank. It wasn't bad, just missed potential. There were some good ideas in there, and then there was whatever that was. But overall, a pretty solid time. So when the Scarlet and Violet DLC was announced, I wasn't expecting much. I mean, yeah, I was expecting a DLC experience, but I expect the first half to be a little bit more lighthearted, with the second half being where the meat and potatoes are at. And, yeah, I guess that's it for intros unless I want to spoil everything. So without further ado, I'm Mr. Galaxy Cat, and today we're reviewing the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC. Members of Team Shadow, video game studios both old and new alike want to see this game is worthy of your collection or not. Let's get started! Alright everyone, listen up. There's a reason why I hauled off on this review or didn't review whenever the first DLC came out. It's because if you bought this DLC nowadays, you would have gotten both for the price of one. I don't know why people don't see it like that and they saw it as 2 DLCs instead of 1, but hey, I'm not complaining. We got some decent content out of it. Decent content. Let's get into that, shall we? The story of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC goes as follows. You have been accepted into an exchange program that allows you to see the land of Kitakami. While they're learning about the customs and the history of this small region, you come across a mysterious mask wearer, who is the most wholesome being I've ever seen in my entire life. Protect her at all costs. We pick up the mask and then we talk to Kiki's grandpa the next day. Thankfully, he knew about Ogerpon, and turns out, history was a lie! It turns out that these lousy 3 came in and stole Ogerpon's masks. Too bad there's nothing we can do to help her. Oh wait, yes we can! Kiki, you see, is a huge fan of Ogerpon, and when he found out we met her before he did, he got pissed. So being a little bitch boy, he holds the mask hostage, and we won! We won! We kicked his butt! Did you think he was actually gonna beat us? Oh no. So it turns out that the mask that he holds, combined with malice that he had, awoke the Loyal 3 of Dawn. And now they're gonna cause some rampage. So we go in, we stop them, and the day is saved. Afterwards, Ogerpon's name is cleared, we bring her back to the dead, but she wants to travel with us. So Kiki fights up one last time with the price of Ogerpon. I'm sorry. I can't take this guy seriously. We beat him, we catch Ogerpon, day is saved, DLC 1 done. Overall, story of the first half was short, sweet, and simple. I got exactly what I was looking for, and more. I mean, we all knew that the Loyal 3 of Dawn was gonna be evil, but the way they pulled it off was actually pretty fun. I didn't know I was gonna like Ogerpon more than I did, but she's become one of my favorite mythical Pokemon of all time. What about me, cat? Sorry, Marshadow. Because of that, I'm gonna give this story an S rank. But DLC Part 2. This story. Let's just get into it. So Part 2 happens after you save the land of Kitakami. You're accepted in the exchange program to go to the Blueberry Academy. Oh, I forgot to mention, it's the place where Kiki and his sister, came from. Yeah. I should have mentioned that earlier, but, yeah. I guess it adds some foreshadowing for DLC Part 1. But, yeah. We go all the way to Unova, the brand new Blueberry Academy, a giant indigo disc with many biomes underground. After learning that Kiki has changed, he's become a violent trainer, becoming the champion of the Blueberry Academy. So it's up to us to put him back in his place. We beat the Elite Four and become the champion, and stay at the, I don't know, what was the name again? I'm just gonna call her Scarlet Violet Lady. So Scarlet Violet Lady wants us to go down back to Area 0 to discover the hidden treasure. After obtaining the indigo disc from Gita, we return to Paldea and go deeper, 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 where we discover a brand new type. The Stellar type. We'll get to that one in a bit. After clearing out some clusters, we continue going deeper and deeper inside Area 0 until we reach the pit. It is there that Terrapagos is discovered, and right when the little baby is about to walk towards us, Kieran catches it? Okay. Good on you, man! At first, his power was pretty much sealed away, but the second half he becomes a monster, overloaded with terrestrialization energy. Faz, if you're watching, they know what you did. So we defeat Terrapagos, capture him, and the story ends with us making amends with Kiki. So overall, I'm not gonna lie. This story kind of sucks. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad story. Far from it. It's pretty good, but in terms of what they built up from the teal mask, I feel like the only payoff we got was Kiki's story arc. We never got any foreshadowing of Terrapagos or this new Stellar type within Area 0, and they foreshadowed something near the beginning of the DLC with this giant crystal ball that emits terrestrial energy, and yet it's just there for no reason other than terrestrial energy. When I first played this DLC, I assumed that it was going to be Terrapagos inside, and the Blueberry Academy leader was actually evil, but he actually had a good nature behind it, and he would just give us Terrapagos after we defeat him with the Terrapagos, but no, that would have been a cool story. But to be fair, that'd be kind of predictable considering what they did with the one guy from Gala, who I refuse to name because I hate Sword and Shield! Okay, so missed potential aside, I'm going to give this story a C rank. It's pretty generic for a Pokemon adventure, but the end is really good, but overall, just average. And with the two together, they combined into a wonderful B rank. Unfortunately, both sides of the story feel like completely separate entities, with the only thing keeping it together having to be Ogerpon and Kieran. Other than that, you could literally have these stories be separate stories, and no one would bat an eye. But still, for Pokemon DLC, the stakes are not going to be as high as they are in the main game, and it was pretty fun. But kind of disappointing considering the storytelling in Scarlet and Violet, although flawed, was still more memorable and a lot more tied together than what they did in the DLC. Content's up next, and what you see is what you get. And what you get is what you get. Starting off with the obvious, you get two new locations in the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC, the Land of Kitakami and Blueberry Academy. I feel like the Land of Kitakami is a lot more fleshed out for being a small location, but Blueberry Academy absolutely disappoints me. You see, in Kitakami, you have a nice big old circle, full of mountains and forests, and it may not be as big as Paldea, but it still feels so fun to go through. But for the love of God, do not go to the crystal pool, your frames will drop like hell. However, comparing Kitakami to Blueberry Academy is just such a disappointment. You only get 4 biomes. You get a mountain biome, a savanna biome, a beach biome, and a frosty biome, and that's just boring. There's also an extra location in Area 0. Area 0 Underdepths, which is really cool, but it's just one big old trek down. But you could find some Terrasser shards down there if you're lucky. As for Pokemon, I got good news for you. We got over 230 Pokemon returning when you include both sides of the DLC. And on top of that, you also get 14 brand new Pokemon. The highlights, of course, being Ogerpon, the Lousy 3 of Dawn, and Terrapagos, as well as some new Paradox Pokemon based off the Swords of Justice and the Elemental Trio. But that's not all. You can also customize your trainer's throwing style, as well as get exclusive costumes and hairstyles for your character. And on top of that, you can also refight some trainers, both in the DLC and in the main game. And if you connect to your friends around Blueberry Academy, you can complete something called Blueberry Quest, which allows you to earn points. And what are points used for? Another shop with another form of currency, and god they're using cryptocurrency again! You can also pretend you're in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon by controlling your Pokemon itself. It's just a Let's Go feature, but now you control it. It's fun for a bit, but it's boring after a while. But it's really fun with friends. You also get a minigame called Ogre Alstein, and okay, let's talk about the shit. I have no idea why, but am I the only one who gets the feeling that when this DLC came out, the performance got worse? Like, don't get me wrong, Pop-In was a thing in the main game, and I did stutter every now and then, but they weren't nearly an issue as it was in Kitakami or in the Blueberry Academy. Listen, I get it. I know that this game is glitchy and it's not perfect. Why else do you think I gave it a B rank? But what the hell is with this performance? I can look past Pokemon and people popping in, but goddamn environments? You know, the Blueberry quest would be fun if the locations I was in was not trying to give me a seizure. If I'm gonna be honest here, Game Freak time and time again has shown that they cannot do optimization. Oh sure, they can make the maps and stuff, and they can kinda make a good looking game, kinda. Still looks like it came from a PS3, but still, it kinda looks good, but why? Swells. How many times are you gonna complain about the food before you realize the chef doesn't give a shit? The only thing that saved this DLC for me personally is the wholesome being known as Ogerpon and doing some BBQ quests so you can unlock some legendary Pokemon after you beat the main game, but why would I bother? Not only are a ton of the legendaries locked down not just because of version exclusive, but you also gotta do group quests to unlock them, but the game just doesn't know how to load in properly. And before you say, it's because of the Nintendo Switch, it's because of the Nintendo Switch, I get it, it's not a powerful hardware, but look at Mario Odyssey, look at Breath of the Wild, look at Persona 5 ported over to the Switch. Sure, it's not the best version of Persona 5, but hey, I can still enjoy Persona 5! At the time of this video, Pokemon Z through A has just been announced, and I pray to God that Game Freak knows what they're doing, because Legends Arceus, while it did have some poppin' issues, it was intentional with the fade and so it didn't ruin my effect a lot, and I enjoyed my time in that game. That video was 59 god minutes long! With that being said, I'm gonna give the content of this game, let me see, I guess a B rank. There's some decent stuff in here, and if you look past the frame rate, you could have yourself a good time, but other than that, it's time for Game Freak to hand their game to someone else. Finally, we come to the S-rank music. S-rank. Listen to Ogerpon's theme. The lousy 3 of Dawn. Terapagos. Unova Battle Theme Remix. S-rank. You can't change my mind. S-rank. Huh, that's weird. I don't remember the letters looking like that.
Oh shit, better not get caught.
Huh? If Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's base game was already hard for me to decide a final grading on, then this one was even harder. This isn't like last time with Pokemon Sword and Shield where the DLC vastly improved on the base game. This one just adds more to Scarlet and Violet, and that's both a good thing and a bad thing. On one hand, you have the land of Kitakami, a region that just feels like the classic era of DS games. It just has that environment, that charm, that personality that I've been craving for in this entire Pokemon 3D lineup, something that I haven't really felt since X and Y. And on the other hand, we have Blueberry Academy, which desperately wants to become as great as its predecessor, but unless you're playing in multiplayer, you just have more Scarlet and Violet issues. If I'm gonna be completely honest, this really depends on how much you liked playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If you enjoyed the game like I did, then I highly recommend that you get this DLC. But if you didn't enjoy the game, then I wouldn't recommend this DLC at all to you. If you see this DLC as two halves of one whole, then sure enough, one side is fine, the other one's completely skippable. But if you're like me and you see both DLCs as one big package as it's sold nowadays, you get some good out of it, but at the same time you get some bad out of it. And while this DLC wasn't as good as the last DLC that Pokemon made out, it was still pretty fun. Like I said, the Land of Kitakami met my expectations. It's just the Blueberry Academy. I mean, it had so much potential. That being said, despite its problems, it's still somewhat solid DLC and a perfect addition to the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet experience. So much so that it actually boosts the original gradient from a B rank all the way to an A rank. Seriously, what the hell happened to my letters? They look completely different. But like I said earlier, if you enjoyed Pokemon Scarlet and Violet before, then you're gonna have yourself a great time. But if you didn't like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, then I wouldn't recommend you shell out $30 for this DLC. And before you feel left down, don't you worry, you could still see the DLC Pokemon even if you don't have the DLC. In fact, you could still even own them, because despite the fact that it's locked behind a $30 paywall, link trades are still a thing, and thank God Pokemon realized that it would cause many issues if the Pokemon players who didn't have DLCs just couldn't see the DLC Pokemon. I would have preferred if the Land of Kitakami was a post-game thing and the DLC of Blueberry Academy was the DLC itself, but the post-game Guidance Scarlet Violet isn't that bad, so I'm not really complaining that much. Sort of. But until next time, I'm Mr. Gaz's Cat, and I'll see you guys another time. Do you agree with the grade that I gave this DLC and even the updated grade that I gave the last game as a whole? Or do you really disagree with my decision? Wherever you stand, let's talk in the comments. I would love to have a chat with you. But until next time, peace out, members of Team Shadow. Please remember to stay catty, live life your own way, stay safe during these trying times, and I'll see you all in No Castle. Until next time, adieu everybody.